Before we begin, a quick reminder. The stories you're about to hear are adapted from real experiences shared online. Names, details, and identifying information have been changed for privacy, but the emotions behind these stories remain the same. Tonight, you'll hear 3 stories about trust, secrets, and the painful moment when the truth finally comes to light. Let's begin. I used to think the worst part of betrayal would be the moment of discovery. I imagined a single dramatic scene, a message on a phone, a strange receipt, a confession that cracked the room in half. But the truth was quieter than that. The worst part was realizing how many ordinary days had happened while I was living inside a version of my marriage that no longer existed. My wife and I had been together long enough that our routines felt like furniture. Sunday coffee, shared passwords, family dinners, the same jokes at the same times. When she started acting distant, I told myself it was stress. When she guarded her phone, I told myself everyone deserves privacy. When she seemed irritated by my kindness, I told myself I was probably trying too hard. Then one evening, while looking for an old photo in a shared cloud folder, I found screenshots she had saved by mistake. There were messages, plans, and the kind of emotional closeness that does not happen by accident. Nothing in the folder shouted. It simply told the truth. I sat at the kitchen table for almost an hour, reading enough to understand, and then stopping because I did not need to punish myself with every detail. When I asked her about it, she tried to explain it as confusion, then loneliness, then a mistake. Each explanation was a different door, but all of them opened into the same room. She had chosen to keep a secret life beside our real one. What hurt most was not only that she had crossed a boundary, it was that she had let me continue making plans with someone who already knew she was somewhere else emotionally. For a few days, I wanted a big reaction. I wanted everyone to know. I wanted the other person exposed. But every time anger pushed me toward a dramatic move, I thought about the people who would be pulled into the blast. Family, friends, people who loved both of us in different ways. I realized that protecting my peace would take more strength than chasing revenge. So I started doing the unglamorous things. I gathered documents. I spoke to someone I trusted. I made sure I had a place to go if the house felt too heavy. I told my family only what they needed to know, and their support became the first solid ground I had felt in weeks. The strangest thing about the end of a relationship is that the world does not pause. Bills still come, coffee still brews. People still ask how your day is going, and sometimes you answer, fine, because the real answer would take an hour. But slowly, the shock became information. The information became a decision, and the decision became a boundary. I do not know what my life looks like a year from now. I only know this. Being the last person to know the truth does not mean I have to be the last person to respect myself. Sometimes betrayal isn't loud. Sometimes it arrives quietly, hidden inside ordinary days, until one small discovery changes everything. Our next story is about a relationship that wasn't broken by a single moment, but by a secret connection that slowly grew behind the scenes. When my fiancée first mentioned her coworker, I barely paid attention. He was just another name from the office, another person in the background of her work stories. At first, I even liked that she had someone to talk to during long shifts. I trusted her, and trust made the small details easy to ignore. Then the stories changed. His name appeared more often. Their jokes became harder to explain. She would smile at her phone and turn the screen away. Not dramatically, just enough for me to notice. When I asked, she said I was reading too much into it. He is just a friend, she said, And because I wanted peace, I accepted the sentence like it was proof. The night everything shifted, we were planning wedding details, flowers, guest lists, the kind of decisions that should have felt exciting. Her phone lit up beside the couch. I saw the preview before she grabbed it. It was not explicit. It was worse in a different way. It was intimate, familiar, and written like I was the interruption instead of the partner. I asked to see the messages. She refused at first, then cried, then admitted they had been talking privately for months. She said nothing physical had happened. Maybe that was true. Maybe it was not. But I told her the same thing I kept repeating in my own head. Loyalty is not only about what happens behind closed doors. It is also about who gets your honesty, your energy, and your private emotional world. The days after that were a blur of apologies and explanations. She said she felt unseen. She said he listened. She said she never meant for it to become serious. I believed that she regretted being caught, but I struggled to believe she had not recognized the line before crossing it. There had been too many chances to step back. I paused the wedding. That sentence felt impossible to say, but once I said it, I felt my lungs open. Our families were confused. Some people thought I was overreacting because the betrayal was emotional. But emotional betrayal can be like water damage inside a wall. Invisible at first, expensive later, and impossible to ignore once the structure starts to soften. She asked what she could do to fix it. I told her I did not want a performance. I wanted honesty without being forced to drag it out of her. I wanted boundaries that existed when I was not watching. I wanted a partner who understood that just a friend is not a magic phrase that erases. Secrecy. Maybe we rebuild. Maybe we do not. But the engagement ring no longer feels like a promise by itself. A promise has to be lived in the small moments, especially the ones nobody else can see. Not every betrayal becomes physical. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from emotional connections that were never meant to exist. In our final story, we'll hear about something many people struggle with after a relationship ends: being blamed for a choice they never made. The first thing she said was not, "I'm sorry." It was, "You made me feel alone." I remember that sentence because it landed harder than the proof. I had expected denial, maybe tears, maybe a confession. I had not expected her to hand me the pain and tell me it belonged to me. Our relationship had not been perfect. No relationship is. We had argued about work, money, and how tired we both were at the end of long days. But I was still showing up. I was still trying. I thought we were in the same difficult chapter, turning pages together. Then I found out she had been meeting someone else. Not by one clear clue, but by a pile of little things that finally became too heavy to ignore. Changed passwords, sudden errands, stories that shifted slightly each time she told them. When I asked directly, she looked exhausted, almost annoyed, like the real problem was that I had interrupted the secret. At first, I listened to her explanations because part of me wanted a reason that would hurt less. She said I worked too much. She said I did not notice her enough. She said the other person made her feel wanted. Every sentence had a small truth wrapped around a bigger avoidance. Yes, I had been busy. Yes, we had been disconnected. But none of that forced her to betray the relationship. The hardest part was recognizing how quickly blame can confuse you. For a moment, I started reviewing every mistake I had made, every late reply, every tired conversation. Every night I had gone quiet instead of asking what she needed. It is dangerous when someone uses your real flaws as a shield for their choices. So I stopped arguing about the past and asked one question. Before this happened, did you tell me clearly that you were close to leaving? She looked away. That answer told me enough. She had not tried to repair the relationship with me before creating a private exit with someone else. Leaving did not feel powerful. It felt sad, ordinary, and inconvenient. I packed clothes into a bag while she kept saying I was being cold. But calm is not the same as cold. Sometimes calm is what happens when your heart finally understands that another argument will not create accountability. I am not pretending I was a perfect partner. I can own my share of distance, stress, and mistakes. But I will not own someone else's betrayal. That is the line I had to draw to save the version of myself that still believes love should be honest, even when it is difficult. 3 different stories, 3 different relationships, yet all of them share the same lesson. Trust is built in small moments, and it can also be broken in small moments. Whether these stories reminded you of your own experiences or simply gave you something to think about, thank you for spending your time here tonight. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care of yourselves and of the people who trust you.